Hey, Katie.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, I already sent that guy a message. I don't have him on my list of people, so waiting. Unless you see him and I can't.
You gotta make me the co-host.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just can't see the waiting room. Nice. In member suite, he's New Cumberland. Or Susquehanna, sorry.
Okay. I wish they would respond appropriately. No, I did not.
Okay, I will.
I forgot about that. Afternoon, Ernst.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
Cool. Not bad.
Excellent.
So home alone, unsupervised, I see.
Oh, it's crazy. How's things in Carl's world?
Oh, they're moving along. Busy as ever, which I guess is good.
Oh, certainly better than being unemployed.
Right now, yes. We closed on our townhouse yesterday, so one house down.
Excellent. Excellent. How many agencies today?
5. 3 DOD, 2 civilian.
Awesome. Leading the way. Hello, Katie.
Hello, Ernst.
How's things in your world?
Oh, just peachy. You?
Same. Ready to take a long trip over the pond?
2. Hopefully your books will be there before you.
Yeah, hopefully.
That'd be a plus.
Well, so I told Debbie, I looked, I think the postage thing we use is a little, they overestimate the efficiency of the post office. So when I looked on the post office website, it said between 6 to 10 days. So hopefully by the end of this week, they should be there.
Awesome.
But I will continue to check.
And I will continue to nag you. It's an appropriate time for I know.
I know.
There you go. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Ernst.
How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. You still sending out spam emails?
Yeah, I am. I'm hoping that everybody's going to click on these wonderful things and, corrupt their computers.
I can barely hear you, Cindy. Do you have your laptop closed?
No, I have my laptop open.
Huh.
I just don't want to put those earphones on for right now, since I don't have to have them on.
Still can't hear you. You're way too far away from the mic.
I can hear it just fine, Carl. Might be an
Really?
age issue. Yeah.
Huh. It might be. And I got a headset on.
Thank you, Ernst.
You're welcome.
So my esteemed and your esteemed colleague, Terry Ford, is in the house today.
Excellent.
He hasn't caused any troubles yet. So, oh, look at there.
Rambo.
Oh, hi, cutie. Hey, Chief.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Hey, Chief. How you doing?
Good. How are you all?
Oh, we are enjoying another Monday morning.
Tuesday, I think.
I know.
Oh,
Oh, I know what day it is.
it's all a Monday.
It seems that way. They just keep colliding.
Yeah.
The good thing about Monday, it does come to an end, just like the work week.
Friday Eve, Thursdays.
Exactly. Other than for busy guys like you.
It all kind of goes together. But what are you gonna do?
I know. Retire.
Yep.
Katie, are the first couple of agencies logging in?
I believe so.
Cool. Thank you.
Morning, Carl.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like I'm coming out your way for the consortium meeting out at Summit in October.
Yeah, perfect.
So I'll get with you as we get closer.
That sounds good. We've already had our first snow, so
Oh, then I ain't coming. There's a limit to my
Did you just say you already got snow?
I did say that, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Last weekend, we had it capping on the top of the mountains were white.
That sounds nice right now. I'd rather have that than this weather.
says the lady that wears jackets in the office almost daily.
Well, because it's freezing in here.
Oh.
But outside it's not.
Okay. Steve Dirksen, how are you doing today? One thing, Zoom is awful slow in acclimating today.
Yeah, I noticed that we had quite an issue to get the video to work.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Carl, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Very good, thanks.
I seen a picture that was sent to me the other day from Steve South indicating
Oh, yeah.
a couple of units side by side look pretty sharp.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Fargo one was okay. The Calgary one was extremely sharp, but I mean, it kind of compensated a little bit.
Well, certainly it was a better team that built that thing than, maybe the Fargo one.
No, the Fargo one looked good for sure, and it was good. I imagine he was down there doing some kind of inspection.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It's my apparatus committee are down there doing the final inspection. We hope that it'll show up in town here early next week. So
nice, yeah.
They sent me the picture of it. I thought it was pretty neat. That all of a sudden I see that's Calgary on the side there. So I had them take a bunch of pictures of your truck for me. So
yeah, yeah, we're pretty happy with those engines. They worked out good. We've probably got close to 30 of them. We've got in our shop now. So and some interesting features like an APU, airbags all around the cab, and very, very tight turning circle as well, the way it's designed. Pretty short unit, but incorporates everything we need for sure.
yeah, we were able to purchase this one on our state's share of the Volkswagen settlement. So basically that settlement paid for half of this ladder truck. So
wow.
Was that where they were cheating on the emission numbers?
Yep, yeah, their final national settlement with everybody. I forget how many millions of dollars we got, but then you had to be able to get rid of certain age apparatus that had, you know, different emission systems, and we had one that fit right into there. So
Nice.
we got the Volkswagen folks to spend, at least pay half of it. So that's good.
Wow. Wow. It looked like, was it a tower, your rig?
It's a platform.
Platform, sorry, yeah. Yeah.
That'll be the third ladder truck I've purchased in 3 years or in 10 years.
Wow.
So I think, Carl, you would have seen this. Thomas Breyer isn't going to be able to join us today, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't have any other apologies, so we should have good quorum anyway. Good, strong attendance.
Yep. Just need one more to make quorum.
Hopefully you've all got COVID under control, right? Considering you're still not allowing us Canadians to cross your border.
Oh, I don't know if that I would go that far, but
No, not here.
We
yet.
certainly don't. We certainly don't have it
Just-
under control.
We've just instituted a mask mandate for all city employees as of last night. So
Wow. Yeah. I hear Florida is having quite the challenge, unless it's changed in the last few days.
yeah, from what they're saying is a lot of nearly all, if not all, non-vaccinated are the ones that are in severe cases.
Yep.
I was just down there. I was in Orlando on last week or 2 weeks ago, and then down to my parents for a week down in Naples. So interesting down there.
Yeah. Yeah, the pandemic isn't quite done with us yet, even though we're done with it.
If any of you want to say anything to Terry Ford, he's in the office today and they're listening on the YouTube thing. So,
Hey, Terry, how you doing? We got some couple of or 3 out of 5, are they not, or DoD establishments with the DLA as well as the 2 Air Force bases, right?
correct.
Pretty good reports all around as well, right? Between the as usual with the Defense Department installations as well as Rockford with 2 recommendations. That's slim pickings for us commissioners.
Yeah, gonna have to make you guys work for your money.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's a great problem to have.
That's right. You're so right, Ernst. You look pretty dapper in that picture there.
I refuse to update that. I mean, I'm not getting any younger, you know.
is that back
Yeah.
when you were actually working?
Yes,
Wow. And much younger.
and much handsomer.
Of course.
I don't think you've changed a bit, Ernst. It's okay.
I appreciate that, Chief.
Ken Holland, how you doing?
Hey, not too bad, thanks. How's everyone doing?
Good to see
Hey,
you.
Ken.
Likewise. Glad I could be here. If it were last week, it might have been a different story.
Yeah. Hope you're doing better.
I am, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you remember back in 2016 when we had it at FRI, I had an issue with my heart and ended up in the ICU in San Antonio for a couple of days. And last Monday, I was at home here with my daughter, and I ended up having a couple episodes of asystole.
Hmm.
So we got to get a handle on that.
No doubt. Just as a let you know, and as a reminder, we are live on YouTube. We're not recording currently, but will be once we go into session.
Sure.
Brad, afternoon. How's the wonderful world of Sumter County, Florida going?
Going well.
Cool.
Yeah, unvaccinated people are learning that maybe they should have gotten vaccinated.
Well, I guess in a way they are getting inoculated
Mm-hmm.
naturally. No needles.
Now, we're doing a lot of encouragement. We're not mandating, but we do have some additional protocols in for our fire and EMS personnel.
Our city's just decided that for employees who can't show proof of vaccination, the two vaccine shots, of course, 2 weeks ago, they're going to be tested weekly from here on until further notice. So that'll be an interesting one.
You guys ready, Carl?
Hey, Katie.
Hello, Steve.
You're still muted, Carl.
Yep, I just seen that. Katie, just FYI, my screens have been cycling, blacking out, and
Yeah, I lost connection too. So
okay,
maybe we need to make Ernst a co-host just in case.
I will do that actually. Ernst, in case anything goes on with our stuff here, you'll be the co-host to keep things running until we get back in.
Yep, sounds great. Happy to help.
With that, we have a quorum, so we can let the first agency in, DLA Susquehanna. Steve, just as an FYI, Chief Butler is having problems with his computer. He's rebooting as we speak. So we still have a quorum, so we can go as soon as everybody's connected. Chief Sugar, you there?
Good morning, Carl. Can you hear us?
I can hear a little bit of an echo, but I hear you.
How about now?
Now it sounds better. I like. Nate, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You're a little bit soft. I don't know if everybody else can hear. I can hear you, but it's a little bit quiet. Maybe it's me. I've been told that before.
Let me see. Let's see if I can turn the mic up a little bit.
I turned up my volume. Maybe that's it.
Is that any better?
I think so.
You know, you're still pretty soft to me.
Chief Ford must have the best computer in the office because he never has a problem.
Is that everyone on from the agency, Carl? Or
Yes, sir.
I think so. Yeah, looks like most of them are in one place, so that's pretty good. So we'll get going. I just have a couple of introductory remarks. Welcome to the August virtual hearings of CFAI. We're well into our stride with these hearings now, so I'm sure we'll have a great day today. First of all, though, as always, I like to make sure we thank all the volunteers who make the CFAI process work, right through from our people who go out with the teams, the technical reviewers, the team leaders, my fellow commissioners, many thousands of hours of volunteer commitment going to making this incredible machine work. So I want to say my sincere thanks to all of those people. Second point is, as usually is the case, this meeting is being cast as well as recorded on YouTube. So hopefully there's some people watching us today from the 5 agencies we have coming in front of us today. The first of those, of course, is Defense Distribution Center, Susquehanna, Pennsylvania. We have the fire chief on board and his team, I can see, and also the team lead, Nathan Schooling. Would you like to do introductions for the Defense Distribution Center, Nate? Please.
I apologize. I'm here. My audio was a little bit low. I'll try and speak up. Good afternoon, Mr. Commissioner or Mr. Chairman and commissioners. I'm Nathan Schooling, the team lead for the Defense Distribution Center Susquehanna Fire Department Peer Assessment Team. First, I'd like to thank the team members, Jake Fouts, Nick Bergman, and Mike Sorofsky for volunteering their valuable time and experience in helping make this a successful site visit. I'd also like to thank Chief Schugert and his entire team for the hospitality and cooperation demonstrated during the site visit. The Defense Distribution Center Susquehanna is located in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. It's home to the largest distribution center on the East Coast, providing logistical support for the Department of Defense and other federal agencies. The team conducted a site visit on May 3rd through 6th and found the agency fully embraced the CFAI model and demonstrated a commitment to excellence throughout the organization. Since the visit, the agency has made considerable progress towards 13 of 15 recommendations made by the team, and we unanimously recommend accredited agency status for Defense Distribution Center Susquehanna Fire Department. I'd like to now turn it over to Chief Schugert.
All right, good morning and good afternoon to those of you that are on the East Coast and everybody else that's on the other side of the country. My name is Barry Schugert. I'm the fire chief for the Defense Distribution Center Susquehanna Fire Department. And to my right is Mr. Mike Lowe. He's our deputy site director. To my left is Fire Inspector Jonathan Olwine. He is our accreditation manager. To his left is Captain John Matt, IFF Local F221 Vice President, and then Assistant Chief John Dre. On behalf of the Defense Distribution Center, Susquehanna, and the Defense Logistics Agency, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to sit in front of the commission today. Sorry, one second. And answer all your questions about our organization. We'd like to thank Colonel Connor and Mr. Lowe and the DLA Installation Management Susquehanna leadership team for the unwavering support, dedication to mission, and the safety of our community. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the men and women of Defense Distribution Susquehanna Fire Department. They exemplify our organizational values, honor, courage, integrity, professionalism, and accountability. And frankly, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. I'd like to also thank Chief Schooling and his team. They proudly represented the commission and SIPSI when they were here visiting our organization earlier this year. Their in-depth review of our organization was professional and thought-provoking, resulting in several recommendations and that we have been diligently working to address and are on track to remedy most of it. Before I move to the question and answer session, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Mike Lowe for just a couple comments.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Commissioner. Good morning to the entire commission team that's on the network this morning for this process. Good morning to Chief Schooling and the peer assessment team and everyone else that's involved on the other end of this process. I'd like to thank Chief Schugert. I'd like to thank the 69 accreditation team members that are here today. I'd like to thank the entire Station 69 that's here and those that can't be here today. I think it's quite fitting that we just had an emergency call for a rescue to respond off installation for a mutual aid call just prior to going live on this call. And I'd like to thank everyone else in attendance here, to include the Chief of Security Emergency Services, Ms. Amy Snyder. Thank you, Amy. On behalf of the director, I would just like to take a few minutes and let you know that we're very pleased to be here in this position today to be sitting before you, the commission, to pursue the accreditation readiness state that we've hopefully postured and will continue to posture for many days, months, and years ahead. I would like to take a few moments and thank the Accreditation Commission itself for what you have done, continue to do, and I'm sure will do well into the future with regards to the accrediting of the fire department organizations across the United States and abroad. We cannot thank Chief Schooling and his team enough. I was able to meet the team when they came here for the assessment, and I can say most certainly that the event was extremely professional and extremely thorough visit. And you could tell that by the team members that I spoke to from the organization and also from the committee itself that was here to do the assessment and also during the outbrief. I took the liberty just to do a quick review and did some history most recently that I thought was astonishing, and that being that the United States population, is protected by only 12% of accredited fire departments across the United States. And I took that information from your website, Mr. Commissioner, and I'm just definitely pleased on behalf of the entire command team to have been a part of that 12% in the recent past, and hope we continue to remain a part of that 12% here today and into the future. To the members of the Station 69 that are here, and those that aren't here, and those that are cannot be here for whatever reason, I too live by a set of values that I've lived by for my 40 years of government service so far, and that being loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And I can say without regard that every member of 69 that I've met since my arrival over nearly 15 years ago here in this organization, that each member embodies those, what I call the warrior ethos, known as the Army of Values of the Defense Department. The accreditation process, it's a very, very thorough process, a step-by-step process that we truly appreciate here. And we try to have that those set of benchmarks of excellence in all we do. And Chief Sugar and his team, I believe, have set the path forward for excellence for many days, months, and years ahead. The leadership team here at Susquehanna, I can speak outright that we remain committed to the accreditation process, and we remain committed to the members of Security Emergency Services here and Station 69, fully committed to the team. And it's Mike Lowe's humble opinion. I always like to share this when I speak about Station 69, that they're truly the best of the best. And it's an honor for me to serve alongside them as we support our nation's warfighters, but also the local communities that we provide mutual aid support here throughout our community. So thank you for the time to provide opening comments. I'll turn it back to you, Chief Schubert.
All right, thank you. I'd like to also just bring recognition to a couple of folks that are on the hearing that are remote. Matt Amidon from DLA headquarters is here, as well as Captains Fogg and Assistant Chief Weiss. And that concludes our introduction. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Chief. And I'd just like to pick up on some of the comments that were made there in terms of, the percentage of the US population that's covered by accredited departments, and certainly how proud we are that you're one of those, as we are with all the agencies who protect that 12% of the US population and a very similar number of the Canadian population as well. With that, third accreditation shows you're very committed to the process. From my perspective, let's go to the first question from Bradley Arnold, please.
Thank you. And yes, it's a good report, and certainly in presentation, we can see the commitment towards continuing the accreditation process. Chief, I know that you were about to sort of give us an update in regard to what progress you've made on the recommendations that the peer assessment team had provided. And that's what I'm interested in, is finding out how many of the recommendations may have already been implemented, and what the status is on moving forward. For me, specifically number 3, the recommendation number 3 related to medical direction was the one that I had the most concern and questions about on where you are on achieving that recommendation.
Sure. So I answer the medical direction part of it first. That's been taken care of. In fact, it was in contract when the peer team was here. It just hadn't been cut yet. Effective, I believe it was August 1st, the new medical director was contracted through Hershey Medical Center. And we're in a transition period between our old medical director and our new medical director. He'll be fully online September 1st. As far as the rest of the recommendations, we had 15 total. Of those 15, we're about 80% solution on 13 of them. There's 2 of them that are pending higher headquarters funding decisions.
Thanks for the update.
Sure.
Chief Dirksen, I see you have a question next.
Yeah, I've got a good morning. Thank you for a good report. Welcome back to the table again. My question, I actually have 2 questions related to category 2. And the first one is, you have about 470 responses last year. How many of them are off base, and what, as far as support for the external agencies?
So we actually have about 730 calls a year, and 400 of them were on base. The rest of them were off base. So about 60% of our call volume is off base for a mutual aid response.
Okay, and so that's all based off mutual aid. I was a little bit confused between mutual aid and external agency commitments. No, that's what you're referencing there.
So they're all mutual aid agreements. So we have mutual aid agreements with all the surrounding municipalities. Pennsylvania is a commonwealth, and there's basically, the way the system works is we're surrounded by volunteer agencies, and we're a paid career department with the availability to provide them some support. So they call us way more than we call them. If one of our warehouses catches on fire and we actually really need their help, that's where we're going to need them. So they're reciprocal agreements, but most of the time they're one way, just because we don't need their help 99% of the time.
Perfect. That helps with my understanding. My next question is that you're using a 2-axis method for determining your risk. Is you feel that is adequate for you, or have you thought about moving to a 3-axis method?
Well, it's actually it looks at 3 or 4 different variables. So we look at the installation OVAP scores for the buildings. We look at probability and risk, and then we look at impact on the installation. We kind of mold all of those together and produce our risk levels based on the combination of all 3 or 4 of those elements.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Chief Dirksen. I had a question around one of the recommendations, which is around the occupational medical programs, and there seems to be some challenges with alignment between the Department of Defense requirements and NFPA, as well as the collective bargaining agreement. I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind, Chief.
Sure. So our occupational medical evaluations are set up, and they're controlled by OPM and the Department of Defense. And more specifically, here at this base, the Department of the Army provides our physicals. And within that process, they determine institutionally that there are certain things that 1582 requires that are considered preventative health, and the government kicks them back to your primary care provider to take care of. So it's not included as part of their annual medical evaluation, but it is something that's looked at. If you were going for a physical, for instance, let's say your blood pressure's high, it's the first time, they're going to refer you back to your primary care provider first, and then they'll bring you back after you're under the care of your primary care provider, and then clear you to come back on the job. And then so you take that piece of it, and then you look at our collective bargaining agreement. It's a living document. It's a little old from traditional collective bargaining agreements. They're replaced every 3 or 5 years. Ours has been in place since its inception in the early 90s. That's updated through MOUs as the time comes. So we're working on trying to update some of that language, but some of that language that's in there, for instance, one of the things that's in the collective bargaining agreement is that they require annual 12 leads on everybody for as part of this physical, but the actual standards change that based on your age. So we're working on trying to realign all that stuff, but we have to work through the Army system, through the DoD system, and then also from the collective bargaining side, which we're working. We have a committee established internally that includes labor management and the occupational health facility, and they're working on trying to find some way to streamline that process or to equalize it out a little bit better.
Thank you. That's helpful. I can see where that might present some challenges. I wonder if I may just ask your IAFF president. First of all, thank you for being here, President. The second one is can you tell me a little bit about we're into the third cycle of accreditation for the Defense Distribution Center. What does the local see as the benefits of accreditation?
The local view has changed over the past couple of years to a more accepting of the process and accreditation. Chief Sugar came in and brought some classes in to instruct the membership on what accreditation is and how it can benefit the department, gaining more support from the local membership. Sorry, I just lost track of thought. The membership itself has gained more traction with this process, more buy-in. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that's, I mean, obviously if people aren't aware of the process, difficult to know what your position is on it. And presumably as well with issues like we just discussed, where we have a collective bargaining element to one of the recommendations, that must be of interest to the local as well in terms of resolving that moving forward.
Oh, yes, and we're working, like Chief Sugar said, we do have a committee that comprises of local members as well management members to work hand in hand, bring those recommendations forward to the entire membership for approval of the CBA. So.
Great. Thank you very much. And like I say again, thank you for being here today. I don't see any other questions from Commission. With that being said, can I get a motion to approve Defense Distribution Center Susquehanna Fire Department for the third accreditation?
So moved. It's Brad Arnold.
Okay, Brad, we've got a motion. Can I get a second, please?
Butler, second.
Thanks, John. Chief Butler, appreciate that. Any further discussion? Any opposed? Congratulations, Defense Distribution Center Susquehanna Fire Department, Pennsylvania, on your third accreditation. Well done.
Very much.
And we'll make arrangements to get your plaque to you so you can hang it somewhere that you will proudly display that. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. You have a great day.
Same to you. Take care.
All right, next up, Dover Air Force Base. This is their second accreditation.
All right, team and team leader are in and connecting.
Thanks, Katie. Nick, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Carl. How are you?
Nice hotel view. Should have invited you down to the office today.
It's hot and humid over here.
I see that. I see that. You don't get that out in Northwest.
No.
Team Dover, how you guys doing?
Good morning. Good, Carl. Oh, good morning.
Awesome. Chief Dongworth, looks like they're all ready for you.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Carl. Welcome, Dover Air Force Base, your second accreditation. Glad to see you. I imagine there's some activity on your base at the moment. I'm just guessing based on what's happening in the world today. So with that said, though, let's go over to Nick Christensen, team lead, to do the introductions, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'm Nick Christensen, and I'm proud to present the report for Dover Air Force Base Fire and Emergency Services for consideration of accredited status. Present with me today are Fire Chief A.J. Keel, Deputy Chief Thomas Cross, and Accreditation Manager Aaron Weisenberger. I would also like to share that the former Fire Chief, while present on site, Christopher Ostrom, recently retired, and Chief Keel was appointed to the position post-site visit. While on site, in addition to myself, the peer assessment team included Alan Fletcher, Greg Chesser, and Scott Dorston, who I would like to thank for all of their work and expertise during this assessment. I know you've seen the report, but I'd briefly like to touch on a couple of additional areas that were not in the report. The agency's dedication to the accreditation process is characterized by several actions that I'd like to note. During the document review, the agency was extremely responsive to our requests for clarification, additional information, or updates. Upon arrival, all the details to ensure a smooth site visit were apparent from the beginning. The community tour was very informative, interesting, and it was clear that this agency had taken the time to become truly familiar with their community. This agency is absolutely committed to the model of continuous improvement, and their actions match their words when we were on site. The peer assessment team identified 2 strategic and 11 specific recommendations, which will help this department become even more efficient in their operations. The agency was very receptive to our recommended improvement areas and have already taken those recommendations for action. Overall, the agency was very prepared, and I'm honored to present Dover Fire and Emergency Services with a recommendation of accreditation. I will now turn it over to Fire Chief Keel for a brief introduction.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission. Good morning from Dover Air Force Base. Big thanks to Nick and the peer assessment team. As he just alluded to, I was newly appointed post-assessment, but proud to be the fire chief here. To my right, and I believe your left, is Tom Crass, Deputy Fire Chief here. And to my left, your right, Mr. Aaron Weisenberg, the Health and Safety Officer. I'm going to turn it over quickly to Deputy Crass for a few comments, but again, very thankful for everything on behalf of our Base Fire Marshal, Colonel Matthew Olson, and as well as Chief Master Sergeant Chris Ostrom as well, my predecessor. John?
Thanks, Chief. Commission, thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you today. Seems short 5 years ago, when we weren't in a COVID world, I was in front of you in person for the first time we were accredited. So as an accreditation manager, to see where we were, where we are, and where we're going, it's exciting to be part of this. So thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to thank Nick, Alan, Greg, and Scott, truly professional guys coming to our department. And not only are we accepting the 13 recommendations, we've actually took action to try to pursue and correct those and help us get better. So thank you for the opportunity. One last shout out to Station 58 that are hopefully watching. It's definitely a team effort to get us this far. And Aaron Weisenberger, our accreditation manager, really put in the work. Those that have done the job know what it takes, and he's an all-star making it happen. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you're right about the heavy lift that's involved here. Of course, you'd be very familiar with heavy lifts where you are. So let's go to the first question from Commissioner Keating, please.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on a great report and getting everything together and moving forward for the second round. My question deals with communications under criteria 9. There were 4 recommendations that appeared under communications about interactions and improvements with the communication center. Can you kind of update us on that?
Yes, absolutely. So with our emergency communication center, we're state of the art integrated with our security forces here. But specifically to your question is on our alternate emergency communication center. We're waiting on higher level funding that we have in next year's X plan to make sure that we get the upgraded equipment we need to make it a fully redundant emergency communication center that's compliant with NFPA 1221. So we've already been taking action. Unfortunately, it's a funding stall until the next fiscal year.
Very great to hear that, and hopefully you'll be able to overcome the funding issue and make improvements as required. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Chief Keating. Ken Holland, are you ready to go?
I am, and thank you, and welcome to the table. It's a good job on a great report. I do have a question with regards to two of the recommendations, recommendations 4 and 5. Just really what I'm looking for is a status update. I know, the report, this report was submitted not too long ago, but, what the report states is that there is no cancer reduction program, and there's also no annual appraisal for the wellness and fitness program. I was wondering if you could just talk about where you are with that and where, what your future plans are to address those two items.
Absolutely, Mr. Holland. Thank you. And I'm going to defer this to Chief Weisenberger here, our Health and Safety Officer.
Yeah, Ken, I think talking to Nick, and Nick might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but it was kind of the recommendation was more of a documentation purposes. We're very fortunate. We have a great first line cancer reduction program, Clean Cab initiative. In fact, 2 days ago, we just ran off base for a mutual aid call. The guys came back. Our Clean Cab initiative worked flawlessly. A lot of the outside companies kind of look at us when we do that, and it's like, why are you putting your gear in bags and why are you getting all stripped down out here? It's something that we're very proud of. We've instituted it on every emergency call that we go on with contaminants. The health and wellness side of it, we're very proud that we have a full-blown 100% participation from both military and civilian members of our department that participate in annual physical fitness assessments, and the actual, just like Susquehanna said it, the annual physicals and everything. So we're very proud of that. What we've done as the recommendations from the team is kind of put more of that on paper to actually explain to somebody on the outside looking in that we have all these programs. Internally, everybody knows that we have them, we succeed on them, but we're trying to communicate that a little bit more effectively on the outside.
If I could add to that too, after the team came, we developed an all-encompassing health and safety plan that was signed by our fire chief. So as of June 21, after the team came, we actually put all those programs on paper. And to your other point, as far as the annual appraisal, there was a few of them that I think the team pointed out we could do better, is how we appraise different programs within the department. We've created new forms that we're going to institute at the end of this year to include this as well.
That's awesome, great. And it's really good to hear that you're that forward leaning with the Clean Cab initiative and being that, serving as a role model to those outside agencies that, that might not know why you're doing it, and to ask those questions, and for your organization to be able to answer those questions for them. I think that's fantastic, and good job on that.
Thank you.
Chief Dirksen, are you ready to go?
I am. You just answered my first question that I had for you on the annual appraisal, so I appreciate that. But holding true to form, I always have a backup. So as I read through the report, looking at category 5E, there's a statement in here that talks about optimum daily staffing. I'm usually familiar with minimum daily staffing. So if you could explain optimum daily staffing to me.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Dirksen. Thank you. And I'll, excuse me, I'll defer to Deputy Crafts on this, because this is something that is it's a conversation in my office every single morning. So Deputy.
Yeah, I know the Air Force staffs us at a certain way at 90%, and they say optimum is 18. So based on our manning standard and the documents that kind of guide us, that is the optimum. Granted, with deployments and people being on sick leave in classes, we don't operate at optimum every day. So we do our best to reach to that level on a daily basis, but as you know, life gets in the way and we don't always meet 18 on a daily basis.
So then do you have a metric that you measure that, and how many days are you at optimum and how many days you're below?
We do, and I can speak on that. We just got done. We actually are leaning forward. We have a MAGCOM functional manager who manages our manpower for the Air Force and specifically for us at the Fire Emergency Services flight. And we have 18. We have a low bogey, but because we don't have enough authorized funded positions, that's why we lack the manpower right now. We have multiple deployment teams out at any given time, and we do have that data. To give you perspective, in calendar 20. We had over 160 days that military members had to cover trucks. We had thousands of dollars in forced civilian overtime for our civilian firefighters to have to cover. So it's well known. It's at our headquarters level, and it's something that is going to be addressed hopefully in the next fiscal when we get the funding for new manpower.
And if I could just add, sir, I know when we look at a risk management plan that we presented to the wing commander, what services we could provide at 18 optimum all the way down, he signed a document saying, okay, based on 13, that's as low as he felt comfortable going based on the risk that would take. So we operate in that window.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Chief Dirksen. I have a quick question here regarding, and it's back to communication systems again in criteria 9B. You have an emergency communication center, but there's a recommendation around examining the call processing times that you experience with 911 calls relayed from the Kent County 911 center. Now, I'm assuming those are for off-base calls, but maybe could you just talk about what you're perceiving that gap to be, or is it a case, as it appears in the report, that you actually don't examine those times, and it's more of a recommendation just to make sure you do check in on those times?
Absolutely.
Yes, we do. One of the recommendations was to try to analyze that gap. If there's a landline phone call on the base, it comes to our dispatch center. If it was from a cell phone, it would go down to the county. So we never were measuring that time. And part of the recommendations, we went back and we've estimated it based on data and calls and communications with them to between 4 and 6 seconds is that gap.
And they basically, in the downtown world, they've enhanced their capabilities where they used to just have call takers that served as dual roles. They took the call and they dispatched. So now the downtown dispatch center actually has call takers and call dispatchers, which are two separate individuals. So now basically identifying that gap that we were losing some time in that process. When the call taker is taking that call and they can see that cell phone call or whatever that call is coming from the base, our call dispatcher, their call dispatcher is automatically bringing our dispatch center online and bridging the call at the same time. So we're losing, where we were losing about maybe 6 to 8 seconds in the past, with the addition of 2 call takers and dispatchers simultaneously working, we've reduced that to about 4 to 6 seconds. Very minimal impact. We've never calculated on any response times that we exceeded our response time benchmarks. We look back and very rarely was that ever in the call taking process. So I think we're in the right direction. And again, we seamlessly work with the downtown dispatchers, straight communication lines between them and our dispatch center to get it quick out the door.
Got it. Thank you very much. That makes sense now in terms of the cell phones going to the Kent County Center, which is what I think you're saying is the case. So I appreciate that clarification. I'm not seeing any further questions from Commission. Again, great report. Second accreditation. Well done. Can I get a motion to approve Dover Air Force Base for the second accreditation, please?
White also moved.
Jesse, I think I heard moved, and I think I heard Jim there. Jim, are you comfortable to second?
I am comfortable.
Jim Keating. Thank you very much. Any further discussion on Dover Air Force Base?
No, thank you again to the entire commission for this opportunity. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to leaning forward and maintaining aggressive accreditation program in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm not hearing any further conversation or discussion from Commission. Any opposed? Not hearing any. Congratulations, Dover Air Force Base, on your second accreditation. Well done. Thank you. And we'll make arrangements to have your plaque transported to your location so that you can proudly hang it somewhere in one of your facilities. So thank you very much again. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Leave.
Take care.
All right, next one, Hampton Division of Fire and Rescue.
Team and team lead are in and connecting.
Awesome. Chief White, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good. Good to see you again. Hampton's still getting into the system here. Good afternoon, Hampton. How are you? Can't hear you. Can see you talking, can't hear it. Can't hear you.
Okay.
There we go, I think.
There we go.
Got a slight adjustment.
All right, you guys all set then?
Yes, sir.
Super. Chief Dongworth, all yours.
Thank you very much, Carl. Welcome, Hampton Division of Fire and Rescue, Hampton, Virginia, second accreditation. Great to see you again. And without further ado, I'll hand over to Team Leader Jim White to do some introductions, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. It's my pleasure to be before you today to represent the team that visited Hampton Division of Fire and Rescue in the Commonwealth of Virginia back on June 7th through the 10th. My team members that joined me for this review was Chief Scott Kujawa from Washington Township in Ohio, Chief Ryan Twork from Marine Corps Base Barstow in California, and Chief Michael Mullins from San Antonio Fire in Texas. I would also like to not only thank them for their efforts, because they did an outstanding job, not only on the document review portion of this review, but also on site. I'd also like to thank our technical review team, Chief Ernst Piercy and his group who reviewed the document that you have before you. I'd like to say that with the volume of reports that they do and the number of reports that I've had the pleasure of being involved in, this represents an outstanding product that I think from a team leader perspective and a peer reviewer perspective, I hope that it brings to you as commissioners what you need to make an educated decision about the process. So thank you, Chief Piercy, for your work on the report. I just want to share a couple of things about Hampton, and thank you, Chief Monk and Chief Lindquist, for being here. Obviously, you worked with us very closely on your document review and also on site. And I want to thank you for your hospitality and welcoming us to Tidewater for the week where we had a chance to review your department. You'll see that we came up with a list of recommendations and combining those in the new report type document. You'll see that I would say the good thing about the volume or of recommendations is that several actions that the agency is already undertaking are taking care of a number of these, and I'm sure Chief will allude to those. But we found some really interesting, and I hope you found them as well, some interesting positive notes, extremely unique things that the agency is doing in the area of emergency communications and training and retention of dispatchers, working with their partner agencies to actually move their operation to another PSAP for periods of time to allow for on-console training. with their partners. So we found that tremendously unique, as well as their what they have done with their community paramedicine program, getting that implemented in the community, doing a fantastic job with that. And also their recent move into in-station communications with video networking. So they do daily communication with all of their units and all of their stations to keep their firefighters informed about issues within the department and daily operations. So with that, we're proud to recommend Hampton Division of Fire in Virginia for accredited status, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commissioners have.
Thanks very much for that introduction. I think we have some of the commissioners have some questions. Chief Dirksen.
Yes, good morning. Welcome to the table. A good report. My question actually is going to go to the team leader regarding recommendation number 12, where you recommend that the agency reevaluate the benchmark response. If you could explain to me what you saw and what generated this recommendation. It's one we don't see very often.
Right. This particular is two categories. We saw that from their first time through using their standards of cover document that they needed to adjust forward the benchmark because they were exceeding it in certain areas. So it's not something that you're correct. It's not something that's seen very often, but I'll allow Chief Monk and their team to further allude to that. I think that's probably already been taken care of, but I'll let them address that. It was within their standard of cover document that we felt like it could be in working with them adjusted. Chief Monk.
Yes, sir. I'm going to defer that to Chief Linkus, who is our accreditation manager. And will I be afforded the opportunity to introduce my team here at the table?
Yes, we'll do that. That's my mistake, Chief Monk. We'll do that right after. Maybe just respond to this question, and we'll give you that opportunity. My mistake.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chief Linkus. I'm happy to answer that question. As Chief White mentioned, some of those need to be adjusted, and we found those when we looked at the broader times into other categories. That's being done, and what we've committed to, and one of the recommendations is also our standard of cover and risk assessment and standard of cover. We're going to restructure and rewrite that and use some of the newer tools that are available. And that goes all the way out into hazard class and some other things for us to build a whole of assessment in that document. And we will, in that, incorporate baseline benchmark adjustments where necessary.
So just a follow-up question, and then I'll let you do your introductions. So did you find, Jim, that the baseline was far exceeding the benchmark? So do I understand the recommendation correctly to adjust the benchmark up so that it's something more achievable? And that's been consistent, and there were no ways that they could improve their baseline to get it down to the benchmark that they established? I
appreciate the question. I think part of that was kind of the other way around, that they were in some cases exceeding it. So we thought that they could, when they revisited the entire process, they could go back and adjust those accordingly. They were having a significant issue as we got into the document review period with their data. And we were able to work with them and help them get to the point where they were asking the right questions of their vendor to get those data points more accurate or reflective of exactly what they wanted to see to make those judgments. So I'll be curious as ACRs come up to watch and see how that works for them. But it was more of the opposite direction than it was what you would obviously think maybe their benchmark was too far out.
Just looking at all of the documents, and I don't want to get into but it shows gaps that are not meeting the benchmark, that are above the benchmark. And so you're suggesting that they look to raise the benchmark. Is that correct?
Adjust it accordingly. Okay. So in wherever it is needed, whether it's to be brought down, because again, realistic in some people's views are different than others. So they're trying to adjust. And again, one of those categories was with EMS, and seeing the advances that they're making with their paramedic program, the community paramedicine program, those volumes may see a decrease, but they were in so much flux with COVID responses and back to normal and back to COVID responses that it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to do that at this point without the improved, more consistent data. But yes, brought them in line. So some of them are going to come down. We think some of them are probably going to adjust up.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
So now let's go to Chief Monk. And again, I apologize, Chief Monk. Please go ahead with the introduction of your staff.
Thank you, sir. I just want to take an opportunity to thank the team. As you know, it takes a village. And so I prepared some remarks to thank the many that are part of this process. So my name is Jason Monk, and I serve as the fire chief here for the Hampton Division of Fire and Rescue. And with me today, we have Deputy Chief Craig Topping, Assistant Chief Maurice Wilson, and Battalion Chief Steve Linkus. And Chief Linkus, actually, he orchestrates a continuous improvement that is accreditation for us, and he's led our collective team throughout this process. And due to COVID, we have several of our city leaders who are actually watching virtually with us, but I'd like to also thank our city manager, Mary Bunting, and assistant city managers, Steve Bond and Brian DeProfrio, for their support of the fire division during this journey. I'm not sure how it happens in other departments, but not only was our city manager staff present during the kickoff meeting with our peer assessors, they were also there during the end of the week summary and recommendation meeting. And so their physical presence there is a testament to the support of the members of the division, not just that week, but every day. But likewise, I'd like to thank Mayor Tuck, Vice Mayor Gray, and the rest of the members of the Hampton City Council for their continued support of the division's mission, vision, and strategic plan. And as you well know too, their dedication in supporting and funding our certain initiatives that we have actually continue to allow us to improve. And that's fundamental to our success. Number one, our organization. I can't say enough about the more than 300 dedicated career, volunteer, and civilian members with our division. As you know, and I've mentioned it, an organization cannot be successful with only the efforts of a few. It's not the efforts of those sitting at the table, it's the efforts of all. And it takes a village, and ours is strong. Their support and commitment is the reason why we're able to sit here before you today. And I think what exemplified the true source of our success is when Chief White mentioned to us during one of our meetings, he said, "Your people are amazing." We tend to agree with that comment. And I'll also share these words as a testament to the commitment of our members. And since the visit, it was shared with me that these words have been shared by more than one member and officer since the team has left. And the words are this: "We really appreciate the accreditation process and the site visit because we were able to really take stock of how fortunate we are as a department to have the people, equipment, and leadership that we have. We are excited to pursue the recommendations to make the division even better." So to me, that insight and perception is critical to our success because it was those, not necessarily, these are field positions recognizing the importance of accreditation. And as a commission, you are also aware that the successful accreditation process requires a knowledgeable, responsive, and compassionate peer assessor team and mentors. We were very lucky to be assisted by a CPSE team that more than met our expectations as we worked to meet theirs. It's not just about the 5-day site visit. It's about the leadership that they provided leading up to that week. It's about the candid conversations during the visit. And it's a willingness to help us seek a pathway to improvement and the continued support thereafter. And I will share that we are continuing to receive support from Chief White and his team. We're better for their efforts. And with that said, a special thank you goes to Chief White, Chief Kajawa, Chief Dwarick, Chief Mullins. And then finally, we'd like to thank the commission for recognizing our commitment to the accreditation process and the value you place on the importance of navigating an ever-evolving fire service through assessment and continuous improvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Monk. I think we've got a question next from Jesse Lytle.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here today. I have a question regarding recommendations number 5 and 6 around your strategic plan. I was a little concerned that you did not have external stakeholders participate in the strategic plan, and it is a recommendation for the future. So could you talk about how you plan to exercise some engagement with folks in the community for the future?
Absolutely, I can take that. This is our, I believe, fourth strategic plan that we've gone through, and we have always had external stakeholders, i.e. citizens, members from other city departments that have been participating in this. We actually did have community stakeholders on this current one that is that will be going live this month, but it was very limited because it was occurring during the COVID response. So we had limited access to our civilian population in order to maintain distance to be safe in doing that. So we had a smaller group, but we do always include external stakeholders in the strategic plan. It just wasn't the number that we would expect on and have seen in our prior strategic plans, but that will be addressed in the future.
Okay, thank you.
I think next we have Chief Keating.
Thanks for being here today, and thanks for a very comprehensive report. It certainly makes our jobs easier. Actually, I have a two-part question, and they both deal with air quality. I noticed in the report that at some time ago, realizing that your stations are older and that asbestos was discovered. I was wondering what the plan was with that, and do you continually monitor that issue, or has that issue been somewhat mitigated? That would be the first part of my question.
Yes, sir. I think we first actually noticed it in the building that we're in, and that was appropriately mitigated some years ago. We also discovered it in one of our stations during an improvement project, and of course that was mitigated. We created a process that went and evaluated all of our stations. We had a third-party company come in and evaluate the stations and identify where we had any risk. And those, with the assistance of the City of Hampton's Risk Management Department, those have been mitigated as well, or they are not a risk to us.
Perfect. Glad to hear the in-depth follow-up and the work that went towards it. Second question deals with a recommendation that it indicated of doing an air quality survey regarding your vehicle exhaust systems. Any word on that? Any progress on that?
Actually, our current exhaust systems have a CO monitor attached to it, or that's part of the system that will alert if the CO is too high in the building. However, the Health and Safety Office is working on a project now to ensure that those monitors, that program is expanded. In fact, we've just purchased brand new Honeywell monitors that are on every piece of equipment and inside of the stations that will alert crews when they're on calls and when they're in the station if there's a hazardous level.
Thanks for that. Sorry, a little bit of an issue with the computer here. And I'm very glad to hear that all the emphasis you're putting towards your crew safety. That's outstanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's one question I have, and it really goes back to Chief Dirkson's question out of the chute about baselines and benchmarks. I noticed with the numbers that I can see for your ERF urban for your all risk fire suppression, it looks like you're currently assembling that ERF in around 19 minutes, and your benchmark is under 12 minutes. So that's a fairly significant gap, and I think it's based on over 500 calls, so it's not a really small number set in any way. Just wondering if if that's somewhere where you're going to adjust the benchmark closer to the baseline, or something where you have plans in terms of how you're going to close that gap if you're not going to do it by moving the benchmark up.
Yes, sir. This is Chief Linkus. One of the issues with that, and you talked about the data set size, which is 500, and that's about how many, that's out of raw CAD. So that's 500 dispatched structure fires. on the backside, reporting of disposition, about 180 of those end up being fires. And in the process, policies will downgrade apparatus. They might all still arrive and assemble, and that is elongating times. So what we need to do is be able to call those 180 out and put a strong analysis on those numbers. And I agree with you. And that's the fallacy or the problem with using raw CAD is it's a broad swath. And what we would like to do is get to a better granular level on that. We did that for ISO because we wanted to show exactly how fast we were getting specific apparatus on scene, and I ended up doing that by hand out of 3 years of data, and that was pretty labor intensive. So we're going to work with our CAD analyst vendor to tweak that and find out how we could put some sort of a flag or a beacon on certain incidents and pull those out into a column and run a really informative analysis on that number.
Okay, that helps. Thank you very much. And I guess that speaks as well to some of the other commentary in the report as well. So yeah, that helps. Thank you very much. Any other questions from Commission? Not seeing any in the chat here. Again, great report. Certainly a few things to do in the recommendations, but quality report again. Can I get a motion to approve Hampton Division of Fire and Rescue for their second accreditation, please, from Commission?
Keating, motion.
Thanks, Chief Keating. Can I get a second?
Colin?
Thanks, Ken. Second. Any further discussion on Hampton Fire and Rescue? Not hearing any. Any opposed? Not hearing any. Congratulations, Hampton Division of Fire and Rescue, on your second accreditation. Well done. And we'll make the arrangements to get your plaque shipped to you so you have that to hang proudly in your facility somewhere. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
So next up will be Rockford. Just as a tidbit of great information, Chief Pankow, who will be representing the agency head and accreditation manager, just was promoted to fire chief. So she's in the hot seat with you all today, and I know she'll do a great job.
Morning.
Good morning, Team Rockford. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Chief, congratulations on the promotion.
Thank you very much.
Tom, is that you on the phone?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
All right. Chief Dongworth, it's all yours.
Thanks very much, Carl. And I would certainly add my congratulations to Chief Pankow, and thank you for being here today in the role of fire chief. And I believe you were going to be here initially in the role of accreditation manager. I'm sure that may spark a question in terms of your succession plan as we get deeper into this, but we'll see how that goes. Without further ado, let's hand over to team leader Tom O'Brien to do the introductions for Rockford, Illinois' third accreditation.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm on the phone, so I apologize for not being able to see anybody. We have a Susquehanna fire tower we're picking up today, and we've been waiting on it for 17 months. So when they say be here, I got to be there. I'd like to, first of all, start off and thank my team. It was a great team to work with, great group of individuals. And I'd also like to thank Rockford Fire Department. They do, I can lay one of your questions off the bat, Commissioner. They do have a succession plan. In fact, the person that I believe will be taking over, and Chief Pankow can correct me if I'm wrong, actually sat in on some of the meetings and has become involved. So they're moving forward with that. It's great to go on a site visit to a department that when you first look at their documents and you know they've been accredited for quite some time, are actually living and breathing the model. The constant improvement continuous improvement is just, it just exudes from that department. It's also tough when you have a department that does so well to even find anything wrong. We found very few recommendations, a couple of which I believe they've fixed already. So it was a great privilege to represent the commission, to do the site visit. It was great to work with them. They were very keen, very quick to answer any questions we had. And they made the site visit enjoyable for the team, and we hope we did the same for them. So that's all I have, sir.
Chief Panko, did you want to introduce your team?
Yes, thank you very much. First, I'd like to say thank you to the peer team that was out to visit. We appreciate the time that they took to come evaluate our department as well as our documents. I'd like to give a shout out to Chief Bergson, even though he's not here. He's the one who really has developed this department and the leadership team on this department. And then the group that we have here with us today is we have Division Chief Matthew Knott to my left, and then we have Matt Cordner, and then our upcoming accreditation manager to my right, and that is Rebecca Tayo. So yes, we do have a succession plan in place for the accreditation process as well as our accreditation work group. And I really would like to say one more thing about that work group. I'm so incredibly proud to have such a good group of people that have worked. We've got that group has grown and grown over the last decade, and the group this time around really knocked it out of the park. And I just couldn't be more proud to be part of that group.
Thank you very much, Chief Panko. I appreciate it. We have a question right away from Chief Dirksen.
Good afternoon, Rockford. Thank you for all the work and a great report, and congratulations, Chief, on the appointment. Welcome to sitting at the table and a new level of responsibility within your organization. The Rockford Fire Department, that you guys have a special place in my heart. You responded to an accident a number of years ago involving my daughter and a bunch of folks, and did a great job. And so thank you for that. I appreciate that. In the report, there's not a whole lot for me to ask questions about, but I do want to, one thing that struck me is you have a risk assessment team. Could you talk to me or talk to us about how that was developed and what kind of things they work on, and who's involved with that?
Absolutely. So our risk assessment team is the group. It's similar to a subgroup of our accreditation work group, and they work on our community risk reduction. And that is continued throughout. So not just when we are working on writing a new or updating the document, but that is done all year long. And that has grown and grown into all of our annual program evaluations, our station risk profiles, our qualitative versus quantitative analysis of all of the risk in our department. So it really is part of our accreditation work group. And then within that work group, we do have folks that focus just on that piece. And then, then they also move over into the self-assessment piece.
Great, thank you for that answer. It's that's an innovative process, and I'm glad to see that you guys are leading the way with a team like that and looking at that risk reduction. And I think that's industry best practice for a lot of us to take forward. So thanks for that.
Sal, I think you have a question next. Sal, I think you're muted. You're still muted, I think. Yeah, your icon is showing you're not muted, but I can't hear any volume. Let's can we jump to Chief Keating next, and then we'll come back to you, Sal. Is that okay? Thank you. Chief Keating.
Yes, thank you. And thanks to the agency for an excellent report with only 2 recommendations. Congratulations, Chief. And my question is to the Chief. So I'd like to know, serving as accreditation manager through the period of time that you have, how do you feel that has really, how has it prepared you to accept the Chief's role in the department?
Well, as everyone knows, the accreditation process, if done appropriately, it touches absolutely everything that you do. So I've been working as the accreditation manager for the past decade, and that has my role in that has grown, and the scope of what I've done has expanded throughout that time. And so when you are working on all the different parts of your department and you're trying to improve processes and improve service and delivery, I mean, it really does prepare you for any type of leadership role that you would have with your organization.
Thank you for that very good explanation, and thanks for staying with the process. I'm certain that the work that has been done in a decade as accreditation manager will very much help you in your new role as fire chief. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Sal, can we give it another try? See if your volume's working.
How about now? No?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, great. I don't want to say something silly and everybody laughing. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for coming to the table today, and congratulations on a great report. My observation is addressed in category 9 on the comment about small areas that were void of hydrants and that you rely on a mutual aid agreement for those neighboring communities to supply tankers. My question is, so rather mutual aid agreement versus an automatic aid agreement, on initial response then, what's done initially for water supply there, or are those mutual aid tankers brought in on first alarm rather than a mutual aid type of agreement?
So we don't have an auto aid agreement with those surrounding agencies, but because we have such a small amount or small number of areas that are, without that, we do work with all of the surrounding departments to train on how to do that response and that integrated response. It's not part of an auto aid, but it is built into our MABUS, our mutual aid cards. So we do have identified where those areas are at. So if there's something where we would know we need something, we can go to the MABUS card very, very quickly. But as far as the other piece of your question, which was the initial response, we do have, water on board. And if we know that it's going to go beyond that, then immediately we would make that request.
I see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chief. I just have a couple of questions from the report. Again, great report. I've rarely seen one with, 2 or less recommendations. So that's obviously a testament to you. There's an interesting observation, though, in one of the recommendations around reestablishing your capital improvement budget. Just wonder if you could talk a little bit about that. It sounds like you maybe have had one before if you're reestablishing, and obviously sounds like you've identified some capital needs in your strategic plan. So maybe just talk a bit about that particular recommendation.
So we have identified some capital needs through both the strategic planning as well as our community risk reduction study and some of the recommendations that have come out of that. But as Chief Knott will attest to, he's our Division Chief of Administration. Capital was cut from the budget. So we were left with having to try and prioritize and come up with just exactly if we got funding back and if we had, capital projects supported again, what that would look like. So what Chief Knott has done is he has gone back through all of those needs and reprioritized and aligned them. So we do have a capital budget, a rolling capital, so we can look at it, monthly to determine just exactly where we're at should that capital funding or that capital be funded again.
Okay, thank you. And my next question may tie into that slightly as well, Chief, which is on some of your ERF baselines, you seem to be, and it's consistent between fire and medical, which seems to suggest to me that you maybe have some struggles from a coverage perspective. Can you talk to me a little bit about those? They appear to be like 4-minute plus gaps on your ERF for both fire and medical, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. So there are a couple of factors that have contributed to that. First is we've redefined our risk differently. So for this community risk reduction study, we redefined all of our risk and aligned it with how we cover those areas. So for example, 80% of what we do is EMS, and of that 80%, the majority of those calls are what we call and have defined as our low risk medical, but that is in fact, a fire truck and an ambulance that respond. And as you'll notice, that's not in here because we met the first response as well as the effective response force on those. So the remaining pieces that are in here are some of those calls that are not quite as frequent. So some of our higher risk and special risk calls. But what we do have in here, though, that we have, already started to try and drill down on is what we have our medium risk for fire. And those are our residential structure fire calls. And so as we look at those, we started to notice that some of our turnout times had started to get longer. And as we all know, that affects the entire first response as well as your effective response. So diving into that, we have tried a number of things to identify just exactly, what is maybe causing that extended response. We've had a complete CAD upgrade within the last year. We thought perhaps that might be contributing to it. We've had folks sit down in the 911 center and actually time calls with the stopwatch to see when it comes in at the PSAP to see if it's more human error. We've also got a very robust QA program that engages our leadership team. Any call that has a turnout time over a certain amount of time gets looked at, and we identify what exactly is it. Is it something on the station side, getting to the vehicle, or is it something on the infrastructure side with CAD and coming from the dispatch center? So we think that we're getting a little closer to identifying just exactly what could be extending that. But I think when you take a look at, the entire CAD system was redone within the last year, as well as where we now redefine our risks. So some of those calls are pieced out or carved out into a much, much smaller number. So if we have 1 or 2 calls that are off in that particular number, obviously it skews our 90th percentile as well. So, but it also does give us an opportunity to look at every one of those calls to find out if we can identify just exactly why we have, an extended response time on that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chief. That's helpful. And you're right. I picked out the high risk on the fire side for sure. So that's fair comment. With that, I'm not seeing any further questions from Commission. So could I please ask for a motion to approve Rockford, Illinois for their 3rd accreditation?
Move to approve Dirksen.
I heard Steve Dirksen making the motion. Chief Butler, I think you jumped in there as well. Do you want a second?
I'll do the second.
Thank you very much, Chief Butler. Any further discussion on Rockford, Illinois? Not hearing any. Any opposed? Not hearing any. Congratulations, Rockford, Illinois, on your 3rd accreditation. Must be an exciting time, new chief, for what I think is a few days in terms of being confirmed and receiving your accreditation. So best wishes for your continuing journey as the fire chief.
Thank you very much.
And we'll make sure we make the arrangements to get your plaque shipped to you to hang with the other two, maybe, whatever your choice is at the end of the day. So thank you so much for being here, and take care.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, last agency, Travis Air Force Base, Fire and Emergency Services.
Another heavy lifter, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Both are in and connected.
All right, thank you. Jerry, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. Team
Good.
Travis, are you guys out there?
I believe they're there. They're just not, they're muted still.
Yep. Chief Speakman, are you out there? Guys are muted and no video. I don't know if you can work that from our end or your end. Not seeing anything. There we go. We're unmuted.
Okay. And good morning.
Chief, do you have, good morning and afternoon. Are you, do you have video capability or no?
Yes. Yes, we do.
There we go.
There you are. Awesome.
Okay, so we have some pretty strict COVID protocols, but I am going to, in the interest of clear communication, not be wearing my mask. So,
so let me turn this over to Chief. Chief, let me turn this over to Chief Dongworth, and they'll get you going on introductions and that in just a second.
Yes, sir.
Steve, all yours.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Carl. Appreciate that. So welcome, Travis Fire and Emergency Services, Travis Air Force Base, California, second accreditation. Without further ado, let's go to Jerry Nollner to do our team leader to do or to start the introductions. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. I know it is still morning out on the West Coast and everything else. I'd like to take the like to thank you for the opportunity to present Travis Fire and Emergency Services for consideration for accreditation status. First, let me introduce the site visit team. This is one that when you go to a DoD installation, you normally go in with one DoD representative, and actually I had a full team of DoD representatives except myself. I had Branch Chief Mike Pritchard from the U.S. Air Force. I had Senior Master Sergeant retired Stephen Thompson from the U.S. Air Force, and Lieutenant Michael Cornisa from the Naval Air Station Fallon Federal Fire Department. So, you know, it was very interesting to have that distinguished team. It made it interesting because of having the Air Force connections to be able to go in on an Air Force installation to sit there and touch base so diligently like they were able to. Chief Dewar will introduce those in the room representing the agency in a little bit. Let me say that Technical Sergeant Tony Green was the accreditation manager while we were on site, and we knew going in that he already had received orders for a deployment. So he is currently deployed, and Chief Munn will be stepping in his absence and everything else. And we've been in connection together, talking through getting the report finalized and everything else. The site visit, like you saw, was June 13th through the 16th. The agency is located in California and considered the gateway to the Pacific. It's the home of the 60th Air Mobility Wing, which is the largest air mobility wing in the U.S. Air Force. The agency was open and upfront with the peer assessment team, again, because of the fact that the distinguished team we had, it was hard for them to sit there and try to sit there and say something different with the Air Force representatives and the DoD installation representatives that we had there and that. But they were very open and honest with us. We're very open with some challenges we presented them with while we were on site, asking them to run some numbers for us and some stats and everything. And they were able to get that to us in a very short period of time. So we do feel that the team with the 6 recommendations that we left while we were on site, I believe the agency is going to work diligently towards those recommendations. It's my pleasure on behalf of the Travis Fire and Emergency Services site visit team to recommend accredited agency status for the agency. And I'll turn it over now to the chief so he can introduce the members he has present and then a few comments.
Mr. Commissioner, or Mr. Chairman and the Commission. My name is John Speakman. I'm the fire chief here at Travis Air Force Base, California. I'd like to introduce, first off, Mr. Glenn Munn. He is the Assistant Chief of Health and Safety. He was our alternate accreditation manager during this process.
Good morning.
And over out of sight, he's moving into sight, is our new deputy fire chief. He was not here actually during the site visit, but has dove in deeply to read the report, look at the data, and help us with the accreditation process. So this is Chief Senior Webster, Deputy Fire Chief. Lastly, I want to turn it over to our commander. So this is the base fire marshal here, the civil engineer, Lieutenant Colonel Townsend. He did not actually meet with the team because he is fairly new on Travis too. So Travis remains a busy base with a lot of moving pieces. And with that, I'll turn it over to Colonel Townsend.
All right. Hey, thanks, Chief. Good morning or good afternoon, Chair and Commissioner. And just want to say thanks for this opportunity. Just give you a little brief overview, kind of like what the introductions were already kind of mentioned. Here at Travis, the 60th Air Mobility Wing, being the gateway, we're delivering air mobility to the world. But what does that mean? Essentially, I mean, as recent as you've seen with over in Afghanistan, we're sending the heavy aircraft over there for the Afghani refugees over there. And so that's what we mean by delivering air mobility to the world. As it was mentioned, we've got one of the busiest ports here at Travis, as well as one of the largest Air Force medical centers also. And so how does the fire department fit into all of this? Within the civil engineer squadron, and as Chief Speakman mentioned, I'm the commander of the civil engineer squadron. Also wear the hat of the base civil engineer, and part of that honor is being dual-hatted as the base fire marshal as well. What part of our mission within the civil engineer squadron is to sustain and protect the base, and you can imagine that's why our fire department kind of fits into all of this. And we have a great group of professionals and engineers over here that make that happen. I just want to, again, just say thank you. I appreciate this opportunity for the accreditation review and this thorough look that we have. And Chief Nolner and team for the thorough site visit. And, so thank you for that. And I think we're ready for any kind of questions you guys might have.
Yes, and I'd just like to thank Jerry and his team also. We do appreciate the site visit. We appreciate the hard look and the service that they did to our department by coming in and taking a look at all of our programs and processes and seeking improvement opportunities. So we are in lockstep with the recommendations. We agree with all of them, and we're looking forward to developing solutions to become a stronger department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Munn, Colonel Townsend. We will open up for some questions here. Brad, you've got first shot here.
Thanks. And mine's not a question. As I read the good report, I'm always also looking for some good best practices that may be from the different agencies. And just want to give you a kudos related to your public education program. I thought that was an excellent report related to the activities that you are doing, particularly keeping the community risk reduction program moving forward in light of the pandemic. So wanted to share some kudos related to your report.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Chief Dirksen.
Yes, welcome to the table. Congratulations on a great report. I echo what Brad said about your award for fire prevention. That's excellent. I'm also intrigued on your efforts during COVID to reach out through alternative methods to keep the fire prevention message out there. The report talks about that you use social media and that you've tracked that. What did you find successful, and what would you change from the process that you had installed or instituted?
Well, I love the process that they went through. I'm not the social media maverick, but luckily I have younger folks in my department that can point me a way ahead. I think it was innovative videos that were fun. The fact that I think it tied in with the way a lot of people conduct disseminating info out on a normal basis. I think most people get their information from the internet now. So I think those were successful. And plus, just the fact that we were so, because Travis was ground zero for the whole COVID. We're the first ones to receive the Americans from Wuhan, and then we received the cruise ship folks. So we've been living in a COVID environment for a year and a half, and I'll tell you, it was a big success. Just disseminating out info on the videos and then actually conducting a parade through housing just to bring people out and have that sense of community. So wing leadership was very happy that we did a parade also. So I am a big advocate now of it. And actually this year we're implementing virtual videos again for our primary method of reaching out to people. And we're looking to keep it fun formats. Our target audience, if we convince the kids teach the parents. So that would be my main takeaway is as long as we get the kids involved, we'll have a successful program.
Great. I appreciate that answer. And Mr. Chairman, if I could go with another question.
Of course, Chief Dirksen, absolutely.
I have another question regarding Category 6 and the prioritization of Station 3 and the replacement. The report indicates that it's the number 1 priority for Travis Air Force Base and 27th within the Air Mobile Command. Where does that fall? Do you think you'll get it in the next fiscal year, or is it in the following? Where are you at with that replacement?
Chief, it's a little tricky. And here's the reason why is we have 2 runways that are staggered from each other. So it creates a 4-mile long runway surface that we're guarding. Station 3 is located in the last bit of land that could house a station at present. So there is a project trying to be funded right now at a little over $100 million that will extend one of our taxiways, buy some off-base land, and then we would be able to locate the new station with that project. It will become part of the $100 million project. Otherwise, the only area we can build a new station is where the existing one. But if we build at the existing one and then the runway or that taxiway extension gets funded, it'll be tore down again to build the taxiway. So It's a little tricky. We're still pursuing it dual. We're hoping that, eventually that the taxiway gets funded, because that will increase our response times and increase our capabilities, as I'll be able to place a second crash truck at that station. So we continue to advocate for both. In the interim, I have been working with engineering to try to take my existing station and improve the response a little bit by giving me another road between the parallel runway and the road, the existing perimeter road. So I am looking to increase my times, but physical footprint, I definitely want to provide my firefighters with a better station than they currently are. We have done one little interim. We did a troop training project and brought out the skilled CE technicians, and we did a revamp of that station just a few years ago, made it more habitable for the crew out there. But we definitely need a new station. I just have to continue a two-prong attack, not knowing if we're going to end up with the taxiway build or not. Does that answer your question, Chief?
Yeah, it does. And I appreciate the answer. Sometimes those of us that aren't part of the military don't understand the intricacies of how one project ties in with the other. And I can see how that works. I hope you're successful.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief Dirksen. By the way, Chief Speakman, I beg your pardon. I think I said Chief Munn earlier, my mistake. So with that, though, any further questions for Travis Air Force Base? Not hearing any. Can I ask for a motion to approve? It's certainly another very solid report for second accreditation. Sorry, I didn't hear who that was.
Brad.
Thank you, Brad. And a second.
Keating, second.
Thanks, Chief Keating. Any further discussion on Travis Air Force Base? Not hearing any. Any opposed? Not hearing any. Congratulations, Travis Air Force Base, on your second accreditation. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for an outstanding report. And we'll make sure we make the arrangements to get your plaque to you so you can hang it in one of your facilities, hopefully along with the first one. So thank you very much and take care.
Commission, thank you so much. We appreciate this. And Jerry, thank you to your team. Anytime you're in California, love to have you stop by.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Chief.
Good day. Yes.